Hello and welcome back. So far, I've told you about the power rule of finding derivatives, which says that x to the n prime equals nx to the n minus 1. Now I'm going to tell you about another rule, which is called the product rule. Product rule. And the product rule simply states that it says f prime of AB, which is just two things multiplied by each other, equals A times B prime plus B times A prime. So this may look kind of confusing, but let's do a problem like this so you see what I'm talking about. It's not really that confusing, or it shouldn't really be. This is one of the easier rules. So let's say we have y equals x cubed times e to the x. One thing I forgot to mention, you should probably memorize this, is that the derivative of e to the x, or e to the x prime, is e to the x. And you should definitely memorize this if you're going on calculus 2, or even for calculus 1. This is very good to know that the e to the x prime is e to the x. So now we have x cubed and e to the x. We have two things that are multiplied by each other. Let's call A x cubed, and let's call B e to the x. So we're going to know the derivatives of each one of these to be able to use the product rule. So let's find that too. Let's find A prime, and A prime equals, we have x cubed, and you remember the power rule says that x to the n equals nx to the n minus 1. So n here is 3, so this equals 3, that's n. X to the n minus 1, n is 3, so n minus 1 is 2. And b prime, as I mentioned earlier, e to the x prime is e to the x, so b prime is e to the x. So now we can write, we have x cubed times e to the x. We have to put it in this form, so it's a times b prime. A is x cubed, so it's x cubed times, and b prime is e to the x, so it's x cubed e to the x. And then it's plus b times a prime. B is e to the x, and a prime is 3x squared, so it's plus 3x squared. And that's it. You can either leave it like this, or you can factor out the e to the x. I like to factor out the e to the x. I think it looks better. So e to the x times x cubed plus 3x squared. And all I did, since both these terms had e to the x, all I did was take out e to the x. So you can also write it like this. I prefer writing it like this. I think it looks a bit clearer. So that's the product rule. Remember, if you use this if you have two things that are multiplied by each other, and all you have to do is a times b prime plus b times a prime. And this shouldn't be that hard to memorize, because it's 1 times the other prime, and the other times the other prime. So, and you can switch these around. Since they are added together, it doesn't matter. You could have b times a prime plus a times b prime. So that's the product rule. And so far we've done the product rule, the power rule, and do remember that e to the x prime is e to the x. In the next few videos I'll introduce more rules to find derivatives, but this is this is all for right now. So email me if you have any questions, and keep watching.